If you're thinking about investing in a juicer, or you're wondering how the Nama J2 cold press juicer holds up long term, then this video is for you. I purchased the J2 about 6 months ago now, and I've used it every week since. So today we're talking the good, the bad, and the ugly of this juicer. Okay, that is a bit dramatic, but I am gonna give y'all an honest and full review of this juicer 6 months after purchase. In today's video, I'll be sharing what makes a good juicer in general, what I love specifically about the J2, what it's still missing, and some pro tips to get the absolute most out of this juicer. Make sure you stay tuned until the end because I'll throw in a delicious summertime recipe using beets, oranges, and celery. I am on the road to 1,000 subscribers and I would love your help to get there, so make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. All right, now let's get started. First things first, let's talk what makes a good juicer. Whether you are a total beginner or a juice enthusiast, there are a few non-negotiables. First, juice yield. A good juicer should extract a high amount of juice from produce with minimal waste. You also want to look for things like nutrient retention. Cold press juicers or masticating juicers in general are ideal because they do preserve more of the vitamins and enzymes compared to something like a centrifugal juicer. If you're sitting there wondering what is a centrifugal juicer, make sure you check out my Magic Bullet mini juicer review where you can learn more about what a centrifugal juicer is and see if that's the right fit for your juicing lifestyle. All right, now back to what makes a good juicer. Ease of cleaning. If your juicer is a pain in the butt to clean, you're not going to want to use it consistently. And also durability. The materials and the motor of your juicer are really important and they should hold up over time, especially juicing hard veggies like carrots or beets. Next up is noise level. A quieter motor is just going to make a huge difference if you're an early morning or a late night juicer. But if noise doesn't really bother you, then maybe this isn't something that you're going to be looking for. Last but not least, prep time. A wide chute or even a self-feeding chute option in your juicer can really save a lot of time. As you can see, the Nama J2 cold press juicer does stack up very well in a lot of these areas, and now we'll talk about that a bit more. So what makes the J2 stand out? The Nama J2 cold press juicer has been a real game changer in my juicing lifestyle, and here's why. Hands-free juicing. I would say this is probably the biggest selling point. The J2 juicer does have a large hopper compared to a lot of other models juicers that I've used, and that large hopper lets you just load in whole fruits and veggies, even hard items like apples and carrots, though I do prefer to kind of cut mine down, remove the core. It just makes it easier on the juicer to process. Even better if you're someone like me who likes to batch juice large amounts at a time, Nama does offer an extra large hopper that can be purchased separately. Obviously, I haven't purchased it, but this size works really well for my purposes. All right, now earlier I mentioned that juice yield is really something you want to keep an eye on when you're purchasing your juicer, and that is one of the things that I really love about the J2 juicer. The pulp comes out extremely dry, which is a good sign that this juicer is extracting every last drop of juice from your produce. And that's also really great for your wallet because it means that you are maximizing your ingredients and you're not just purchasing things only to get a little bit of juice out of it and the rest is going to waste. We do not want that. Also, this juicer has a really high quality design and build. I mean, honestly, it feels like a premium experience using this juicer. I love that the plastic on this juicer is BPA free and it's also a thick plastic, which really makes it feel quality. The motor on this juicer has not lost any power in the past 6 months, even though I use it frequently. And finally, ease of cleaning. While no juicer is truly easy to clean, the J2 is thoughtfully designed. The parts come apart easily and quickly, and this juicer even came with a cleaning brush that is super effective for getting into the nooks and crannies of this specific design. Okay, and lastly, one thing I really like about this juicer is that it has built-in safety features. The J2 will not operate unless everything is properly aligned and locked into place. That is a small touch, but you know, it's just really helpful and thoughtful in that way. And finally, did I say finally already? Well, if I didn't, this juicer comes with a 15-year product warranty. Yeah, you heard me, 15 years. If any part of the machine breaks down due to craftsmanship or just product performance, you can contact Nama's support team and they will replace the parts or even the entire juicer. So yeah, I'm 6 months in now and I still consider this juicer a really solid investment, but it is not perfect. Now, before I dive into the cons, I'm gonna quickly switch out my attachments. Obviously, this is our main juicer with the hopper, and down here is where all the juice extraction happens. But I did purchase the citrus attachment. Well, actually, Nama gifted it to me, which was really nice of them. And I'm gonna use this attachment for today's recipe because, as you can see, I have a ton of citrus. This attachment makes it so much easier to juice your citrus as opposed to just having to peel everything, take off the pith, and then actually run it through the juicer, which is how I used to juice all of my citrus. And let me tell you, it's very time consuming, it is not fun, it's rough on the hands. This is so much easier. Now let's talk about what could be better. Despite the many pros, there are a few areas where the J2 just kind of falls a bit short. For example, the price point. this juicer is on the higher end of the juicer market. And not everyone is gonna be ready to spend that amount on a juicer, especially if this is your first juicer purchase. Now, I was fortunate to have a discount code when I purchased my J2 juicer. And like I said earlier, I got the citrus attachment complimentary, which was really great. So I think I spent in all just under $500 on the base Nama J2 cold press juicer. Another con is that this juicer does not make nut butters or even sorbet, unlike some other slow masticating juicers. The J2 is not necessarily functional in that way, and so you are really just limited to juice. Now, the saving grace here is that Nama does offer several attachments for the J2, including a sorbet and ice cream maker that I really want to purchase. They also have another product that you can buy that makes only plant-based milk, so you can make anything like oat milk or almond milk, which is really nice. Of course, these are extra costs on top of an already hefty price tag, so not necessarily the most ideal option. Also, if you're being mindful of space, you don't necessarily want to buy a lot of different attachments, and this juicer on its own is already kind of bulky. As you can see, it takes up a decent bit of counter space, so if your kitchen is tight, that is something to consider, as well as storage. I will say I have to break this juicer down all the way to its bare components to be able to store it into my cabinets, so just something to keep in mind if you're working with limited storage at home. Now, the final con that I'll talk about, though I personally don't consider it that big of a con because the trade-offs are so strong and this juicer does come with a lot of pros, but the juicing process on this juicer, as with all masticating juicers, is relatively slow if you compare it to something like a centrifugal juicer. Centrifugal juicers are just faster by nature, but again, there are going to be some trade-offs there. So you really have to think about your juicing lifestyle, your juicing preferences, and what you're going for. Is it just flavor, or are you really looking to create a nutrient-dense, high-quality juice? And finally, y'all, here are my pro tips that I picked up over the past 6 months so that you can really get the most out of your Nama J2 juicer if you already own it or if you decide to purchase it. My biggest recommendation is going to be to alternate between soft and hard produce. This will help keep the pulp flowing and reduce clogs as you're juicing. For example, if you're going to juice leafy greens, you want to follow that with something a little bit denser like cucumber or apple. Or if you're starting off with something more fibrous like a carrot, for example, you may want to follow that up with something that's a little bit more water-based like citrus. While the J2 can technically handle whole fruits, like I said earlier, I really prefer to chop up more stringy produce like celery, or even core out things like an apple core to avoid pulp building up inside of the juicer. Another tip is that you really want to clean your juicer immediately after use. You want to rinse and brush all of the parts to really prevent any residue from drying up on the juicer. It cuts your cleanup in time in half, for one, and for two, it is just such a pain in the butt to clean out dried up pulp. I mean, you don't want to do that to yourself, so just clean it as soon as you're done. Alright, and as promised, I'm going to wrap up this video by showing y'all how I make my citrus, beet, and celery juice, which is perfect to beat the summer heat. It has been so hot lately, so this juice is really great for making sure you stay hydrated all summer long. So obviously all I'm doing right now is just juicing my 4 navel oranges. I'm also going to be adding in the juice of 5 lemons, which I'll also use my citrus attachment to juice those. If you just pop off this top layer, this size works really well for larger citrus like oranges, but then underneath there's another piece that works really well for smaller citrus like lemons and limes. I really do like this citrus attachment. The actual juicing process is a little bit slower than if I were to just throw everything inside of my hopper and, actually juice with the juicer itself. But there's so much less prep time. I mean, y'all literally saw all I did was cut everything in half, and now I'm juicing it. So trade-offs like everything, but I prefer it this way. I think it was a great investment that I didn't actually have to pay for it, which was nice. And you can see the citrus attachment does a really good job of getting all the juice and even some of the pulp out. So it is a really great way to maximize how much juice is being extracted from your produce. I mean, this is literally bare, if you can see that. It has nothing inside. Okay, and now we're gonna switch over to the actual juicer attachment. So I'm gonna do a little bit of cleanup and then I'll be right back to juice the celery and beets. So stay tuned if you wanna see more about how the juicer itself works. And we're back. Let's go ahead and continue this juicing recipe. So like I said, I'm gonna be using beets for today's recipe. These beets are so beautiful, look at that. I just love the color. I actually learned that you can dye clothes with beets. I'm not sure exactly what that process looks like or how that works, but it's just so cool that you can get this like beautiful red color and transfer it over to clothes. What I will say is that the leafy greens on beets are really great for salad. So if you're someone who's wondering like, what can I do with all of the leftover pieces? This is one great recommendation if you're somebody who likes to juice beets. The funny thing is I don't like to eat beets like at all. Even since I was younger, like I've never really liked the taste of beets, but for some reason in a juice, I don't know, it's so good. So I'm just gonna go through and cut off all of the leaves. I'm gonna save them for later, make a little salad perhaps. I'm also gonna cut off the little root, and I think I'm gonna quarter these just because beets are one of those firmer produce. Look at that beautiful color. Beets are really great for juicing because they're high in something called nitrates. And nitrates have a lot of beneficial purposes, one being blood pressure support, so it kind of can help regulate your blood pressure and improve your circulation overall. Now, if I had a softer produce, or if I were running my citrus fruit through the actual juicer, this is where I would start to actually layer my produce. Look at my hand. This is where I would start to layer my produce. You really help your juicer out by layering firm produce, medium produce, soft produce, leafy produce, or vice versa, to just kind of, like I talked about earlier, help everything run through and avoid getting any pulp clogged inside of the machine. But alas, I don't have any less firm produce. I mean, kind of the celery, but not really. So I'm just gonna throw it all in there. And that's okay, because sometimes maybe you're only using one ingredient in your juice, or maybe you're only using two and they're both firm. Okay, I'm gonna start running the machine and I'm gonna show you something about the safety features that I mentioned earlier. Look at that, it stops itself. So as you're juicing, let's say you need to open the juicer up for whatever reason, maybe you're adding in more ingredients. Once you open the top of this hopper, the juicer automatically shuts itself off, which is a feature that I really like. I mean, something that can break down firm produce like beets and carrots can really mess you up if you accidentally put your hand in there while it's running. And then when you're ready to go, you just pop it back closed and it starts itself back up. Look how pretty the like gorgeous kind of ruby color on this juice is. I'm gonna taste it in just a second, but as you can see, I'm transferring it over to this glass jar, which will store it well in the refrigerator. And one thing I really like about this jar is that it can snap shut. You don't wanna store your juice in anything that allows oxygen in, because that'll affect the overall taste and quality of the juice. Okay, let's give it a little taste test with my handy dandy wine glass. This is so pretty. I need like a lipstick in this color. All right, moment of truth. Oh wow, that's really good. Really like this. I wish you could taste it. I guess you'll just have to make it at home. So after 6 months, would I still recommend the Nama J2 juicer? Absolutely. If you're serious about juicing and you want something that is efficient, quiet, and durable, this is your go-to juicer. It's not for everyone, especially if you're someone who's on a tighter budget, or you want more versatility, or maybe you just don't juice very often. But if you're looking purely at juice quality and ease of use, the J2 is a winner. Thanks so much for watching, y'all. If you have any questions about the J2 juicer, or you want to see more juice recipes, make sure you drop a comment below.